Hello folks, welcome back. I sit here at 1:19 in the morning on the 4th of December 2025 and I'm absolutely gobsmacked. This is beyond comprehension. It just doesn't make any sense how this happens. South Africa, whom I've reported on for years, and of course the leftists lied about it and denied it, but then of course the Minister of Education simply confirmed that it was true about the passing rates to get through the matric and other levels of certificates and such in South Africa education, which have been dumbed down to the most ridiculous levels, basically defrauding students, telling them they've passed by giving them a passing certificate with 30% in a few subjects and 40% in their first language. That's insane. That's not a passing mark. Do you want the heart surgeon who operates on your chest to have gotten 52% in biology? Do you want the engineer who got 38% in trigonometry to be the one building your bridge? This is insane. For years, they've dumbed down the education system. They say it's to get more people through the system, but you're defrauding these kids. They're not educated. They're failures. They're gross failures, and you're telling them that they're successful. No wonder South Africa doesn't have enough talented people because of this idiotic education standard. So Mmusi Maimane, the former leader of the Democratic Alliance and now leader of Build One South Africa, proposed raising the standards. Well, thank you for that, Mmusi. Yeah, let's raise them to 50%. 50%. Now, this is what's going to beggar your imagination. The measure in Parliament failed. It failed. A majority of parliamentarians voted against raising the passing mark to 50%, which is still too low. 70% should be the minimum. This is insanity of the highest order, ladies and gentlemen. Insanity of the highest order. How in the world does anything like this happen? It's absolutely insane. So the vote in Parliament was 119 MPs voted to keep the 30% threshold, while 87 voted to raise it. There are 400 members of Parliament, folks. That's barely 200 people voted. So the 30% minimum pass stays in effect. Where are the rest of these MPs at? Seriously. It's about 206 people voted out of 400. The motion was tabled by Build One South Africa's Mmusi Maimane. The goal is to raise the minimum national senior certificate, NSC, or matric as they say in South Africa, pass requirement from the current subject thresholds to a flat minimum of 50% for all subjects, which proponents argue would end mediocrity. Well, no, it won't. It will improve things, but mediocrity would be if you go to 70% and better prepare students for higher education in the job market. The motion was rejected in a parliamentary vote. Now, who voted against this? This is just going to, your head's going to swell. The majority of the ruling African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance voted against the 50% minimum. So the Democratic Alliance is in favor of dumbing down education for kids. It's insane. Insane. Support to change this to 50% came shockingly from the Economic Freedom Fighters and the MK Party, with the Inkatha Freedom Party also voting with them. But EFF and MK, is it just because they're in opposition? Do they really support raising the standards? I don't know. This is insane. The EFF and MK are the ones supporting better education. Shocker. Opponents of the 50% pass mark argued that the current 30% minimum for some subjects is too low and compromises the quality and global competitiveness of South African education. It does. They're correct. But opponents caution that raising the mark without first addressing systemic issues like under-resourced schools, large class sizes, and inadequate early childhood education could lead to increased student dropout rates and deepen inequality. So you want people to get fake certificates that they didn't earn just so they don't drop out of school and they don't feel bad. How does it deepen inequality? This low standard is what deepens inequality. This is unbelievable. The South African politicians would actually be this stupid. They also clarified the current system is complex and a student cannot pass overall with a 30%. This is the typical leftist nonsense. It's a canard. It is a canard. It is a red herring. A student can get 40% in their first language, 30% in 3 subjects. So stop the nonsense. Raise the standard 70% across the board for all marks. Otherwise, you're just fools. This is an intentional effort to dumb down the electorate, and it's destroying South Africa, among many things. What say you, South Africa? Mzansi. Cheers.